Okay, all right. So let's just go through this chapter. This is basically simple and compound interest. And as I've mentioned yesterday as well, the very first question of P4 is most of the times from this topic, right? So in the beginning, the questions would be about ratio proportion. We'll talk about past papers today, and then there would be some part about simple or compound interest. Okay. So now we know the difference. Always remember compound interest is more than simple interest, and interest and all of that is just related to percentages. Okay. In simple interest, every time we are referring to the deposit amount, initial amount, or amount that basically we use for calculating interest is basically the deposit amount or the initial amount. However, in case of compound interest, we are going to use the previous amount. For example, at the end of first year, the interest was 5% of the previous amount. Now, 5% of the previous amount was whatever we have deposited in our banks. Okay. Then at the end of second year, we have calculated 5% of 525 that we had at the end of first year, and so on and so forth. And at the end, you were able to see that for simple interest, it's 575, and for compound interest, it's 578. So compound interest is always going to be more than simple. Then we discuss the first question type where we have the initial amount, where we have the interest rate, and then you need to find the interest amount and the total bank balance. That was fine. Acha. Okay. All right. Okay, Noor. Okay. I'll get back to this. Okay. Acha. Uske baad, the second question was a bit different, and this is important. The interest rate was 20%, and I've told you this percentage is going to be annual. This percentage is going to be yearly. This percentage is going to be for 12 months. Okay. So basically, we were asked to find the amount of interest after 8 months. However, we know that the interest is applicable for the entire year. So for 12 months, the interest was 20%. So what would be the interest for 8 months? We just did ratio proportion and we were able to find that it would be this much percentage, and 13.33% of our amount was 78, approximately 80, right? And another method of doing so was that the interest amount would be 120 after 12 months according to this, because the deposit amount was 600, 20% was the interest, so 20% of 600 is 120. So what would be the amount after 8 months? And we just did cross multiplication and that gave me $80. So this was just something simple, and we are done with that. Okay, now I would not be waiting for the other students and let's get started. Acha. The next thing is basically about the next question type is basically about that your initial amount is not given. Now this is comparatively difficult. Okay, so please pay attention and listen to me very, very carefully. Let's talk about question number 3, where we have Jane deposited an amount of X dollars in a bank at 20% simple interest. Given that she had $1280 at the end of 3 years, find X. Okay. Let's understand the question first. Let me just quickly message the students which have not joined. Do we have Kabir is here, Urva is not here. Okay. Acha. Now the question says Jane deposited an amount of X dollars. What is this? This is my initial amount. Okay. This is my initial amount, and we don't have this initial amount. In a bank at 20% simple interest. Given that she had $1280 at the end of 3 years, find X. So you need to find the initial amount, and you know that she has kept her money in the bank for 3 years, and after 3 years, she has $1280 now. Let's not talk about any formula and let's talk about this logically, okay? Now, just imagine. After 3 years, what is she going to have in her bank? She is going to have the initial amount that was X dollars. Okay. This was the initial amount. This plus 20% of X. Sorry. 20% of X plus another 20% of X. This 20% of X is basically for the first year, right? This is for first year. This is going to be her amount after first year. X plus 20% of X is going to be her amount after first year. Then after second year, she is going to get another 20% of X and 20% of X, 20% of initial amount. Why? Because it is simple interest. Okay. So every time we are talking about 20% of X because this is simple interest. And then this is basically for the second year. We are talking about 3 years, so plus 20% of X. I repeat, please pay attention. In this question, we do not have the initial amount. We have the interest percentage. We have the final amount. Now we know that after 3 years, what exactly she is going to have in her bank. She would have her initial amount, that was X, plus interest of first year, interest of second year, and interest of third year. What is going to be the interest of first year? 20% of X. What is going to be the interest of second year? 20% of X. And what is going to be the interest of third year? Again, 20% of X. Okay. Now this is basically for the third year. Okay. Now we know that after 3 years, she had $1,280 in her bank. So now I'm going to plug in the values. After 3 years, the amount is going to be 1280, and that is equal to X plus 20% of X. I can write 20% as 20 divided by 100, and that is going to be 0.2x plus 0.2x plus 0.2x. Okay, are we clear with the fact that 20% is equal to 0.2? 20% is basically
Yes, clear.
20 divided by 100, and this is basically 0.2. Okay, now this is an equation that has X as its only variable. So we know how exactly we solve linear equations, right? It's very, very simple. So 1280 is equal to 1 plus 0.2, that is 1.2, plus 0.2, that is 1.4, plus 0.2, that is 1.6x. And if I make x the subject, so x is going to be 1280 divided by 1.6. Please use your calculators and tell me the amount quickly.
800.
Very good. Well done. Sorry. Yes, that's right. It's going to be 800. Very good. So this means that X is 800 and that is basically my initial amount. Yes, any confusions with this? Please tell me quickly. Kabir, Ariba, Noor, Urva. Urva, you okay with this?
Ma'am, in the
Hmm.
part after you divided them, ma'am, I'm kind of confused in the second last part.
Here?
Yes, ma'am. I'm kind of confused in that.
Okay, I'll tell you. What is
Okay.
this? This is basically an equation that says 1280 equals 1.6x. This 1.6 is being multiplied with x. I want to make x the subject. Why? Because I've been asked to find the value of x. So I need to take this 1.6 away. This 1.6 is being multiplied here. So when I will take it on the other side, it would be divided. So that is why I have divided 1.6 by 1280, and this is
Okay.
giving me 800. Okay,
Got it, ma'am.
very good.
Ma'am, did we add all 0.2 that I
Hmm.
mentioned?
Sorry, please
Did
say
we
it
add
louder.
all of them? I said, did we add all the 0.2s?
Yes,
Like 0.
yes,
So doesn't
I've
that make
mm,
point?
yes, that makes point 0.6. Very good. But we also have this one. Okay, it's 1 plus 0.2, that's 1.2 plus 0.2, that's 1.4, and then this last one that would make it 1.6. All the coefficients are basically with x, so I can add all of it. I have also added x. Okay, this one, right? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, any other question?
No questions.
Okay, very good. Okay, 1 second, please. Okay, next we have another question, and this question is the third and the final type of simple interest. So this is question number 4, and it says Ali invests $800 at a bank that offers Y% of simple interest. His final bank balance after 2 years is $1120. Find X. The very first question that we'd have discussed had the initial amount and percentage rate, and we had to find the final amount. The second type was basically this, that we had the final amount and simple interest, and we had to compute the initial amount. This time around, we have the initial amount, we have the final amount, but we do not have the interest percentage. Okay. Acha. So this is what we need to find. And again, you will get to see that different teachers and different books have some formulas for this. But I am always against formulas, because every time you cannot memorize a special formula for a different case, right? So we are just going to think about things logically. Now, let's talk about the solution. So I know that after 2 years, Ali is going to have his initial amount plus Y% of this initial amount plus another Y% of this initial amount, right? This is how we calculate the final amount. It's going to be the initial amount plus the interest of first year plus the interest of second year. Now, after 2 years, he has 1120 in his bank. So 1120 in his bank, and this thing is equal to 800 plus y percent multiplied by 800 plus y percent multiplied by 800, and this is basically y. Okay, acha. This is 1120 equals 800. These zeros and zeros would get cancelled. 0 and zeros would get cancelled. Plus 8y plus 8y. I am going to take this 800 on the other side. It's being added on this side. It would be subtracted. So 1120 minus 800 is equal to 8y plus 8y. I can add the both because these are like terms. This is equal to 16y. And finally, I am going to use my calculator for this. 1120 minus 800 divided by 16. And this is going to give me 20%. Very good. So y is equal to 20. This means that the interest percentage is 20%. Interest percentage is 20%. And this is going to be your answer. Acha, now, one thing that is important, I'll obviously talk about the entire solution again, but before that, please notice one thing. At times, things look so simple, we are able to understand. But I've written y percent of 100 as this. Y divided by 100 multiplied by 800. Because in the beginning, since we have discussed percentages, I've told you percent means per cent. This is per and this is cent, okay? Per and then cent, percent. So every time when I have 12%, y percent, x percent, I divide that thing by 100 in order to write it that way. Any confusions with this, please tell me quickly. I am
No
going to
confusions.
just
No, ma'am, no confusion.
tell me honestly, Kabir, Muiz, Noor, anything that you would like to ask?
No, ma'am, I've understood it.
No, miss.
Okay, very good. Perfect. This means that we are good with this. One last thing, and then we'll talk about past papers. Now we need to talk about compound interest as well. And now we are only left with one formula that we need to memorize. Because if you start computing compound interest the way I explained in the beginning, that is going to take a lot of time. Okay. So the formula is basically F equals P into 1 plus R divided by 100 to the power n. Now I'll tell you. This F is basically your final amount. Okay. This is basically your final amount. This P basically stands for the starting value or the initial amount, whatever you want to call it. So initial amount, because this is how we have discussed it. This R is basically the percentage interest rate. Okay, so this is basically the interest. Now, for example, if the interest rate is 20%, R is going to be 20 because that percent is already mentioned over here. Okay, so 20% means R is 20. 30% interest rate means R is 30. Okay, acha. And then this N is basically the number of years. Now we will be using this formula directly in order to understand things. Okay, so let's talk about one question. Question number 5. Ali deposits $800 in a bank at 20% compound interest. Okay, now this is the difference. In the previous questions, simple interest was mentioned and now compound interest is specifically mentioned. 20% compound interest for 4 years. Find his final balance after 4 years. Okay, now let's say I'm sitting in examination hall and I've come across this question. So since it says compound interest, just stop your thinking process there and then, and according to your syllabus, wherever the question is going to be from compound interest, every time you can use this formula. Okay, so that is guaranteed. Okay, so since I have read the word compound interest, now I'm going to write this formula, and the formula is F equals P into 1 plus R divided by 100. F is something that I need to calculate, so I'll keep that as it is. F is equal to, I'm not sure about it, so I'm going to keep it like this. Now P is the initial amount, that is 800. Then I have 1 plus R is 20 divided by 100, and N is 4. Now please use your calculators. Please do it with me. Open your calculators. It's 800 multiplied by, brackets open, 1 plus 20 divided by 100, brackets close, and in the power of the brackets you need to write 4, and this is going to give you
Ma'am,
it's
1658.88.
yes, that's right, very good, 1658.88. Very good. This is going to be the amount, and for the final answer you can just write it as 1659. Okay, but do not round it off to 1660 unless the examiner has mentioned that. Okay, in decimals, yes, you can round off the decimals, but not such numbers. Okay, that would give you a wrong answer. Very well done, all of you. Any confusions with this?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
Ma'am, this is actually easier to remember the formula.
yes, like for compound interest, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, that is it. Very good. Okay, now let's talk about some questions just so we are done with this chapter. Okay. Now here you guys would get to practice, oh, you would get to practice some old contents as well, but we would not be wasting too much time on that because ideally I need to talk about the interest stuff only. Acha. So this is the very first question and it says, the Smith family paid $5,635 for a holiday in India. The total cost was divided into the ratio travel, accommodation, entertainment. Okay. And the ratio was 10 ratio 17 ratio 8. Now I'll tell you. First of all, let me just do one thing. Okay. If you add 10, 17, and 8, that makes it 35. Okay, now please pay attention. I need to explain the idea in these ratios. This 5,635 is being used in 35 parts. 10 parts of that are basically used for traveling. 17 parts of that are basically used for accommodation, and 8 parts of that are basically used for entertainment. And what made me say 35? 10 plus 17 plus 8 is basically 35. So in total, I know that this amount is divided into 35 parts, and 10, 17, and 8 is basically the number of parts traveling is using, accommodation is using, and entertainment is using respectively. Okay, this was just an explanation for those who are confused with the ratios and all of that. Let's read the question. Calculate the percentage of the total cost spent on entertainment. Okay, so I do know the total cost. Now I need to find the total cost for entertainment, and then I need to find the percentage. Okay, so as I've told you, we need to have ratios. Okay, now I know that I will make another ratio. This ratio is not going to help me because the amount I have is the total amount. So I need to know the ratio for total amount as well, and that is 35. Okay. So entertainment ratio total 8 ratio 35. The amount for total is 5635 and the amount for entertainment is x. Next, I need to cross multiply this point and x is going to be 5635 multiplied by 8 divided by 35. Please use your calculators quickly. 5635 multiplied by
One,
8.
1280.
Very good. 88. Okay. 1288. 1288. Okay. And this is the amount of the money that is being spent on entertainment. Okay. I need to find the percentage. So the next step is going to be 1288 divided by the total amount, that was 5635 multiplied by 100%. Okay. So I am going to again use my calculator for that, and this is going to give me 22.9%. No need to write percent because that's already written, and this is going to be my answer. Yes, take a few seconds and try understanding it, and if you have any queries, just ask me directly.
I understand.
Okay, Taha,
Ma'am,
the
understood.
question was to find the percentage. Okay, all right. Yes, Kabir, Noor, Ariba, anything?
No, ma'am.
No, miss.
Okay. Acha. The next part basically says, show that the amount spent on accommodation was 27,737. Yes, please take a minute and do it quickly. I think all of you can do this now. You can easily prove this. It's a 2-mark question. Do it quickly. We have already done this thing. Only 1 minute for this part, and then we'll talk about the next one. You need to find the amount spent on accommodation. So you can use the similar method that we have used in the previous part. Accommodation ratio total 17 units for accommodation, ratio 35 units for total. Total amount was 5635. This is y. Just cross multiply at this point, and this would give you y equals $2,735. Okay. Yes, very good, Taha. Any difficulties with the second part?
No difficulties.
No difficulty, ma'am.
Okay. Acha, okay. Those who are doing it, just leave that. Please put your pens down and please pay attention to the third part. That is more important. Okay. This is about what we were discussing lately. The $5,635 was the total amount Mr. Smith received from an investment he made 5 years ago. The compound interest at a rate of 2.42% per year was paid on this investment. Calculate the amount he invested 5 years ago. Now, compound interest is the word. I was unable to understand the question, yet I am just supposed to write down the formula that I've taught 5-10 minutes back. And then we are going to talk about the other details. So the formula is F is equal to P into 1 plus R divided by 100 into N. This is my formula. Acha. I need to find the amount that Mr. Smith invested 5 years ago. It means that I need to find this initial amount. I need to make P the subject. So what I can do is I'll do F divided by. Now I know that this P is being multiplied with this entire thing, So I'll take this entire thing on the left side, and this would become 1 plus R divided by 100 power N equals P. Now I have my formula that I would be using in order to find the answer. Okay, let's plug in the values. So P is equal to F, that is the final amount, that was 5635. This is divided by 1 plus 2.42 divided by 100 power 5, because n was 5. Okay, now we need to use our calculators, but before that, let's calculate the denominator. Brackets open, 1 plus 2.42 divided by 100, brackets close. In the power, I need to have 5, and this is going to give me 1.126999 and so on. Okay, this is basically the denominator only, so no need to write this. Just again on your calculator, and this time around the
Then
previous
5,000.
answer was basically your denominator. Okay, so 5635 divide by the previous answer. Very well done, excellent, you were right, and this is giving us 5,000. So the initial amount was 5,000.0000 something. No need to write that. It's only going to be $5,000. Let me check the answer from the marking scheme as well. Yes, that is right. Very well done. Excellent. Okay. Yes, those who were not able to understand, please tell me quickly.
I understood.
Yes, please feel free to ask me if you have anything, because this is your right. No
Ma'am, I
questions?
don't understand the formula part.
Yes,
The
yes, yes.
formula part.
I'll tell you. Okay. So this is something that you need to memorize. Okay. This the first one. Okay. This is something that we have discussed on the PDF as well. Are you clear with this one? Because you need to memorize this. This is basically the
And the
final
second
amount.
part. The second
Oh,
part.
okay. I'll tell you. Now, F was the
Mhm.
final amount, P was the initial amount, and I was asked about the investment. That is the initial amount. So I need to make P the subject. I know that this P is being multiplied with this entire thing. So I need to get rid of this entire thing, and in order to do so, since it was being multiplied with P, I'll take it on the other side and I would divide that. So I've divided that and I got P equals F divided by 1 plus R divided by 100 power N. Okay. I've just taken this entire thing on the other side because it was being multiplied with P. And this entire thing was in brackets. Okay. So I was able to take it on the other side directly, right? Yes. Is it okay, Urva?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Acha. We will talk about these parts later on, not now. I want to talk about another question. Here it is. Okay. Okay. Here. This one. Okay. I'll do the first part. You guys will do the second part. Any invests $330 at a rate of 1.5% per year compound interest. Now this is compound interest. Calculate the amount that any has after 8 years. Give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. I think you guys can try the first part and then I'll do the second part. Okay, just type your answers, take 2 minutes, and then I'll see if you were able to do it correctly or not. Okay, I'll write the formula. It's F equals P into 1 plus R divided by 100 power n. Okay, so here you go. Okay, so let's see. I got 3 answers so far. And the 3 answers are okay. Very good, Muis and Taha. It's correct. Ariba, just check it once again. It's a bit different. The answer should be 372. Okay. Acha, let's do this one. Final amount is something that I need to find. 330 is my initial amount. 1 plus 1.5 divided by 100 power 8. Just take out your calculators. 330 multiplied by brackets open. 1 plus 1.5 divided by 100 power 8 equal to sign, and this would give you 371.74, and you will write it as 372 as your
Ma'am,
final answer.
ma'am, in the place of P, I wrote 300.
Yeah, even I initially wrote 300 on my calculator, but yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we need to be careful with this. Very good. Okay, the last part of this question says, find the amount of interest that any has after the 8 years as a percentage of 330. Okay, now, first of all, this question has 2 parts. First of all, you need to find the amount of interest, okay? And then you need to find its percentage with 330. Now, this is compound interest because compound interest was written over here, okay, in the beginning of the part. And in order to do this, first of all, we need to calculate the interest amount. Okay. Again, for this, we are going to do it this way. First of all, you will have to calculate the total amount after 8 years. Please do that quickly. F is equal to, yes, please do that quickly. Yes, we have already done that. I'm sorry. This was the previous part, right? So the total amount was 372. 372 was the total amount after 8 years. So the interest amount would be 372 minus the initial amount that was 330. And we need to find the percentage according to this. So this is going to come in the denominator. And we need to multiply this thing by 100%. So 372 minus 330 Divide that by 330 and multiply it by 100. So this is going to give you 12.72%. That is 12.7%. Yes, well done, Taha. Very good. And what about the other students? Were you able to understand the second part? It said find the amount of interest that any has after 8 years as a percentage of 330. Okay? After 8 years, in total, she had 372. You were only supposed to find the amount of interest. So 372 minus whatever she had in the beginning, that was 330. So 372 minus 330, and you need to find the percentage according to this number, that is 330. So we have divided it by 330 and then just multiplied by 100%, and this is going to give you 12.7%. Yes, any difficulties with this? Anyone who was not able to understand this, please tell me quickly.
No difficulties.
Moiz, Noor, Ariba, Urva, tell me.
Difficulties, ma'am.
No difficulties.
Okay.